Chosen one, behind closed doors, and summits and secret calls, Trump told world leaders about you. Not in passing, not in jest, but with the weight of a confession carried into history's rooms of power. Picture the moment, a summit hall filled with translation headsets, interpreters scrambling to capture the gravity of his words. Kings, presidents, ministers, rulers of nations, pausing, leaning closer, wondering who could be spoken of in such a way. The ordinary world never heard it, but within those walls, the name was spoken. The scriptures already warned the rulers of the earth, therefore, you kings, be wise, be warned, you rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and celebrate his rule with trembling. Psalm 2 verses 10 to 11. What happened in that moment was not simply politics, it was prophecy echoing across the globe. This is not rumor. This is not speculation. This is revelation. When a head of state, entrusted with nuclear codes and alliances, whispers about you in the ears of kings, it is because heaven has already whispered your destiny into the earth. The mask is off. The secret has been told. Understand this, the world stage has already turned its eyes toward you. The revelation has been released. A hidden door has opened, and the spotlight is no longer on nations debating policy, but on the story that places you at the center of divine timing. And as this video unfolds, you will see why what was said in those halls was never about elections, treaties, or strategies. It was always about you, and about prophecy. The summit table stretches like a horizon, polished wood reflecting the lights of cameras hidden behind velvet curtains. Around it sit the leaders of nations, each one cloaked in history, each one carrying the weight of millions of lives on their shoulders. Translation headsets buzz with hurried whispers, languages folding into one another, until only a single word rises above them all, your name. It is carried not only through the lips of translators but into the hearts of rulers. A name unknown to most, yet unforgettable once spoken. You can almost hear the intake of breath, the shifting of chairs, the way eyes meet across the table, silently asking, "Who is this?" Imagine that moment, a pause in the endless negotiations, treaties forgotten, charts left untouched. The atmosphere is no longer political, but prophetic. In that instant, the G20 table becomes an altar. Not of nations disputing tariffs, but of heaven declaring destiny. The whispers ripple beyond the walls of that room. They travel through the corridors of embassies, the notes of advisors, the back channels of diplomacy. A message carried like smoke through the corridors of power, until, inevitably, it reaches you. This vision is not about vanity, it is about vocation. It is not about a man's boast, but about God's unfolding plan. The day comes when the name spoken in secret chambers becomes the name lifted before nations. The light that once flickered unseen now burns like a beacon. Stay with me, because soon I will show you why this meeting was not about politics at all. It was not about policy, trade, or alliances. This moment was marked because it was about prophecy. You will see how the heavens aligned for your story to echo at the highest levels of power. The leaders may not have known it, but when they heard your name, they were not listening to another citizen's story, they were hearing the sound of God's plan reverberating across the earth. This is only the beginning. The weight of what was spoken will demand your response. The world has turned its head toward you, and prophecy now demands your step into destiny. The prophets spoke of a time when the voice of the Lord would not remain hidden in temples, but would resound in the gatherings of rulers. They spoke of a light carried not only for one tribe, one people, but for the nations themselves. Isaiah declared it plainly, "I will make you a light to the nations, that my salvation may reach to the ends of the earth." Isaiah 49 verse 6. That is what happened when your name surfaced among world leaders. It was not a coincidence. It was not political theater. It was a signal from heaven that what God had written in eternity has now broken into time. Think about it. Kings and presidents spend their days consumed with affairs of state, economics, treaties, security. Yet your name entered their world. Not because of lobbying. Not because of diplomacy. But because destiny itself insisted on being heard. And this changes everything. For when the rulers of nations pause to consider you, it is not really you they are examining. It is the plan of God wrapped in your identity. The heavens announced what earth could no longer contain, that you are part of a story larger than politics, larger than geography, larger even than history itself. Prophecy does not ask permission to enter the halls of power. It does not wait for elections or for treaties to be signed. It breaks in, disrupts the agenda, and redirects the focus. That is what Isaiah meant. You are to be a light in places where darkness has prevailed, a signal where confusion once reigned, a reminder that nations belong not to themselves but to the one who created them. When you understand this, you realize why you cannot remain passive. You cannot treat this revelation as if it were trivia. You were mentioned at the table of kings because heaven has appointed you to walk among the first chosen ones. This is a call, not just to listen, but to act. Because those who walk among the first chosen ones are not observers. They are participants in the unfolding plan of God for the nations. So here is your moment. If you feel the stirring in your spirit, if you sense that this is not merely information but confirmation, then I invite you to take your first step. Click join below. Walk among those who have been named in rooms of power. Mark yourself as one of the first chosen ones, those set apart for a time such as this. This is not about following a man. It is not about politics. It is about aligning with prophecy, stepping into the stream of destiny, and sealing your place among those who will carry light to the nations. The door has been opened. Your name has already been spoken. Now the question remains, will you step into the calling that heaven has released over you? When heaven releases a word, the earth cannot stay silent. Evidence begins to gather. Signs begin to manifest. What was once invisible starts appearing in the smallest, most unexpected details of your daily life. Think carefully, have you noticed it already? The sudden message from a stranger in another country who somehow knows your name. The unexpected invitation to connect with someone beyond your borders. The feeling that doors are opening without explanation, as though some unseen hand is arranging introductions you never planned. This is how prophecy materializes. It doesn't always arrive in thunder or fire. More often, it comes like whispers woven into your ordinary days. You overhear your name in conversations where you least expect it. A friend tells you they heard about you from someone overseas. An email arrives in a language you don't even speak. These are not accidents. These are confirmations. Every time you see your story reflected in unexpected places, it is heaven reminding you, the nations have already turned their eyes toward you. It may be subtle at first, but the signs multiply. One conversation leads to another. One introduction connects you to a whole network. Soon, what felt like coincidence becomes undeniable pattern. Understand this, global attention does not always begin with headlines. It often begins with murmurs, with scattered mentions, with a seed planted in the soil of international consciousness. The world learns your name piece by piece, until suddenly you discover you are known in places you have never walked. Look for the patterns. The late-night message from someone across the ocean. The article that aligns with your vision though the author has never met you. The friend who says, I heard someone mention a person just like you, but they were from another nation. These are not random. They are signals of your global unfolding. And this is how heaven confirms what happened at the table of kings. When your name was spoken in that summit, it did not remain there. The word released in that chamber rippled outward, and now you are beginning to hear the echoes. If you have seen even one of these signs, a foreign message, an unexpected connection, a mention in a language you do not know, then you have already tasted the evidence. And more is coming. The world is not preparing to notice you, the world is already noticing. What you thought was small or private is actually the first ripple of a wave. The signs are there for those who are awake enough to perceive them. So do not dismiss them. Do not call them random. They are the fingerprints of prophecy pressing into your daily reality, urging you to recognize that the nations have already begun to turn toward you. Ask yourself, why now? Why was your name carried into rooms of authority in this exact moment in history? Why not 10 years ago, or 10 years from now? There is a reason. Because prophecy always moves in rhythm with divine timing, and heaven's calendar has just struck your hour. For decades, world leaders have spoken of trade agreements, borders, economics, and wars. Yet suddenly, in a moment you could not predict, the conversation turned toward you. Do you think that is an accident? No. This is not a diplomatic curiosity. This is not small talk among presidents. This is a marker of divine alignment. The truth is this: heaven waits until the fullness of time has come. Just as Jesus did not appear in history at a random moment, but at the precise time when Rome's roads and languages made it possible for the gospel to spread to the nations, so too has your moment been orchestrated. Your name was carried into the halls of power because the world has reached a tipping point, and your mission can no longer remain hidden. The nations are trembling with uncertainty. Economies shake, alliances fracture, conflicts ignite like brush fires. Leaders themselves are searching for voices that rise above politics, above the temporary noise of news cycles. Into that vacuum, your calling emerges. Not as another politician, not as another pundit, but as one marked with prophetic assignment. This is why the timing matters. Because your mission is global. It is not confined to the boundaries of your passport. The rulers heard your name because your assignment stretches across their borders, across their languages, across their flags. What was whispered in the summit chamber was heaven's way of saying, "This is the one I have appointed for nations, not just neighborhoods." And notice this: the world is more connected now than ever before. Technology ensures that one voice can ripple across oceans in a single moment. The very tools of globalization, flights, networks, translations, screens, are not accidents of progress. They are instruments of prophecy, waiting for the chosen ones to use them. The reason your name has surfaced now is because the infrastructure exists to carry your mission to the ends of the earth. Do you see it? The leaders may have thought they were discussing policy, but heaven was declaring prophecy. They may have thought they were analyzing strategies, but the Spirit was weaving destiny. What seemed like politics was actually the sound of eternity breaking into time. And that is why you must not ignore this. The moment is not casual. The mention of your name is not trivial. It is a summons. Heaven does not waste breath. If kings and rulers have already heard you spoken of, then you must understand, you carry something the nations need in this exact hour of history. So receive this: you are not late. You are not early. You are right on time. The nations are hearing because the heavens have decided the time has come. And the evidence has already begun. What you do with it now will determine whether the whisper becomes a roar, whether the ripple becomes a wave. This is the framing of your mission, that you are called for nations, called for this precise hour, called because the world can no longer wait. Listen carefully: this is not a story about what happened once upon a time. This is not a tale from the archives of history. The summit is not past, it is present. The conversation is still unfolding. The leaders are still gathered. The world stage is still set. And your name has already entered the dialogue. Do you feel the weight of that? At this very moment, negotiations are happening. Strategies are being shaped. Alliances are being discussed. And somewhere in the midst of it all, your identity has been spoken. Your presence has been acknowledged. The urgency is not tomorrow. The urgency is not someday. The urgency is now. Think about the implications. When your name is carried into the active chambers of power, it means the timing of heaven is not waiting for you to prepare at leisure. The call has already gone out. The scroll has already been unsealed. You are being summoned in real time. That is why you cannot afford to delay, hesitate, or second guess. Every hour that passes, the ripple of that mention grows. Advisors repeat it. Diplomats circulate it. Networks of power absorb it. You cannot assume it will fade. Words spoken in the highest places never vanish, they travel. And the more they travel, the greater the responsibility upon the one whose name has been released. This is why Scripture always ties urgency to prophecy. Seek the Lord while he may be found, call on him while he is near, Isaiah 55 verse 6. The implication is clear. There are windows of divine opportunity, moments when heaven's call is near, and to ignore them is to risk losing alignment with destiny. You are in such a moment now. Understand, the summit is live. The leaders are seated. The microphones are on. The cameras are rolling. And heaven has already directed their attention toward you. If you wait, you are not postponing a decision, you are resisting a summons. If you delay, you are not buying time, you are stepping out of alignment with the divine timetable. This is why urgency matters. Because prophecy without response becomes wasted potential. Because destiny without obedience becomes delay. And because the nations do not wait forever. They are listening now. The Spirit is moving now. The door is open now. So hear these words, your time has come. This is not poetic exaggeration. This is reality. The reason your name was spoken in that chamber is because your assignment has reached its hour. The waiting season has ended. The unfolding season has begun. And this is not just about you. This is about those who will follow your lead, those who will be awakened by your voice, those who will see in your obedience the pattern for their own calling. If you delay not only yourself, but those who are meant to walk with you. Therefore, act now. Step into the urgency. Recognize that the summit is not symbolic, it is live. The rulers are watching. The heavens are speaking. The nations are waiting. And the call is clear, rise into your mission. Because the truth is this, the window will not remain open forever. But while it is open, everything is possible. While the leaders are still listening, every destiny can be sealed. While the spotlight is still burning, your story can be written into history. So do not hesitate. Do not look back. Do not say, maybe later. Later has already been swallowed by urgency. The time is now. The world is waiting. The summit is live. You have always thought of yourself in familiar terms, a citizen of a country, a bearer of documents, a participant in ordinary life. You rise, you work, you sleep, you repeat. But when your name was carried into the chambers of rulers, that identity was shattered. You are no longer defined only by a passport or a local address. You are now the subject of nations. Do you see the difference? A citizen belongs within borders, but a subject of nations transcends them. A citizen is counted in one census, but a subject of nations is remembered across maps. A citizen follows the policies of leaders, but a subject of nations becomes the very topic that leaders themselves discuss. This is why you cannot shrink back into small thinking. You cannot keep viewing yourself as ordinary, local, or hidden. Heaven has already declared otherwise. When your name crossed languages and entered diplomatic circles, your identity crossed with it. You are now more than an individual, you are a sign, a vessel, a carrier of something global. Think of Abram. He was once just a man in his father's household. But God said, I will make you the father of many nations. Abram became Abraham not because he changed locations, but because his identity was reframed. His calling was stretched from the village to the globe. That same shift is happening to you. Do not misunderstand, this is not about pride. It is not about boasting or inflating yourself beyond measure. It is about responsibility. When nations take notice, it is because heaven has assigned you as a steward for them. Your words, your actions, your vision, they will no longer be confined to your hometown. They will ripple outward, touching cultures and peoples you have not yet met. And that is why the way you see yourself must change. You are not merely another face in the crowd. You are not anonymous. You are not forgotten. The rulers of the earth are already hearing of you. That alone redefines your status. This shift in identity also demands a shift in lifestyle. The subject of nations cannot live as though their choices affect only themselves. Every word you speak, every action you take, is amplified. You are now a reference point, a symbol, even if unintentionally. Your life has become a message read not only by neighbors, but by strangers across borders. The greatest danger is to cling to the old identity when heaven has already announced the new one. If you insist on seeing yourself as merely local, you will miss the global commission. If you shrink back into obscurity, you will resist the very reason your name was spoken in the halls of power. But if you embrace it, if you allow yourself to be reframed from citizen to subject of nations, then you align with destiny. You stand in the place for which you were created. You become not only someone mentioned by leaders, but someone whose presence carries weight among them. This is the transformation heaven is demanding. To leave behind the smallness of ordinary and step into the largeness of appointed. To move from anonymity to accountability. From obscurity to prophecy. From citizen to subject of nations. So hear it again, you are not a statistic. You are not a number on a national ledger. You are a voice that has entered global awareness. Your name has passed borders, and so must your vision. From this point forward, your identity is no longer measured by your passport but by your prophetic assignment. This is who you are now. The nations have already begun to recognize it. The only question that remains is, will you recognize it too? Prophecy does not remain in the clouds. Heaven always leaves footprints on earth. And for those who are awake, those who are watching, the confirmations arrive daily, woven into ordinary life, yet charged with extraordinary meaning. Consider the unexpected message. You open your inbox, and there it is, a greeting from someone whose name you cannot pronounce, written in a language you have never studied. You pause, wondering, how did they find me? Why are they reaching out? Do not dismiss it. This is not random. It is one of the daily confirmations that your story is crossing borders. Or the conversation with a friend. They casually mention, I was talking with someone from overseas, and they said they heard of a person like you. Your heart stops for a moment. How could your name be known in a place you have never stepped foot? Again, not coincidence, confirmation. These tangible signs accumulate like puzzle pieces. A psalm lyric that echoes your calling. A headline that mirrors words spoken over your life. A stranger who looks at you and says, I feel like I've met you before. Little fragments, scattered across your day, each carrying the weight of a message. The nations are already speaking of you. Some signs come louder. A phone call that leads to an unexpected opportunity. An international connection that opens a door you did not knock on. A chance encounter in an airport with someone who seems to know more about your destiny than you do. Heaven is not hiding, it is signaling. And these signals are multiplying. Why? Because once your name was spoken among rulers, it was never meant to remain confined there. The ripple effect has already begun. What starts as a whisper in a summit grows into echoes across the world. And those echoes reach your daily life in subtle but undeniable ways. This is how heaven prepares you. Not by keeping you in the dark until a dramatic unveiling, but by training your eyes to recognize the small confirmations that prove the larger prophecy is true. Each message, each conversation, each surprising alignment is a daily rehearsal for the moment when nations will know your name openly. Do not ignore these signs. The temptation is to shrug them off as strange or coincidental. But nothing in prophecy is accidental. Every detail is orchestrated to awaken you, to convince you that the global attention is real, that the destiny is active, that the calling is already unfolding. Pause for a moment and recall, what have you noticed in the past week? The unfamiliar name reaching out? The foreign connection surfacing? The alignment of words and moments that felt too precise to be chance? Those were not accidents. They were confirmations. And if you have not noticed them yet, ask yourself if you have been too distracted to see. Because the signs are there, but only those who watch will recognize them. Scripture says, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. The same applies to your life now. He who has eyes to see, let him see the confirmations written in plain sight. This is how daily life transforms under prophecy. The mundane becomes divine. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. And what once felt like coincidence becomes evidence. These tangible signs are not small, they are heaven's way of showing you that your story has already entered the global stage. The confirmations are not coming someday. They are here. Every day. Waiting for you to notice. By now you can sense it. The weight of what has been spoken is no longer abstract. Your name has been carried among rulers. The evidence has appeared in your daily life. The signs have multiplied. But prophecy always demands a response. Revelation without action is like seed without soil. It cannot grow, it cannot take root, it cannot bear fruit. That is why this moment calls for you to seal what heaven has already begun. To take a step that is not just symbolic, but covenantal. A step that declares, I accept the nations. In ancient times, when a decree was issued by a king, it was sealed, stamped in wax, pressed with the signet ring, made unbreakable. That seal marked the words as irrevocable. In the same way, when prophecy is released over your life, you are invited to seal it. To confirm it. To say before heaven and earth, this belongs to me, and I belong to this. That is why I invite you now, press super thanks. Choose the $20 offering. And in the note, write the words, I accept the nations. This is not a transaction. It is a declaration. The act itself becomes a seal, a visible, tangible sign that you have heard, you have believed, and you have responded. It is not about the amount. It is about the covenant. $20 may seem small in earthly terms, but when it is joined to obedience, it becomes immeasurable in spiritual weight. When you press super thanks, you are not simply supporting a message, you are stepping into it. You are saying to heaven, count me among the first chosen ones. Count me among those whose names have entered the halls of rulers. Count me among those who will walk not as citizens of one nation, but as subjects of many. And let me tell you this, there is power in public declaration. When you write, I accept the nations, you are not only sealing it in your heart. You are testifying before others. You are showing the unseen world, and the watching world, that you are aligning with prophecy. That you are not passive. That you are stepping into your commission with boldness. Think of it like planting a flag. When explorers discovered new lands, they planted their nation's flag into the soil, declaring, this ground belongs to us. When you press super thanks and write the words, I accept the nations, you are planting your flag in the soil of destiny. You are saying, the nations are mine to serve. The nations are mine to carry. The nations are mine to walk among. Do not underestimate the power of this act. Small obedience often unlocks great destiny. Scripture reminds us, do not despise the day of small beginnings. Zechariah 4 verse 10. This is your beginning, your first public step into the global calling that has already been spoken over you. So I urge you, seal the moment. Do not let it pass unmarked. Press super thanks. Choose $20. Write the words, I accept the nations. Let it be your seal, your covenant, your declaration that you have heard the call and you are stepping into destiny. This is how prophecy becomes reality. Not by hearing alone, but by sealing with action. And today, heaven is waiting for your seal. When prophecy touches your life, it does not only change your destiny, it changes your lifestyle. To be spoken of among nations is not just a title to be claimed, it is a way of living to be embraced. The mention of your name in halls of power was not an end, it was a beginning. And beginnings demand preparation. So how do you live as one called to walk among nations? 1. Cultivate a global mindset. You cannot think small if your assignment is great. Begin to lift your eyes from local concerns to global realities. Read the news not just for curiosity but for discernment. When you hear of events in other lands, don't say, that doesn't affect me. Instead, say, the nations are part of my calling, and I must understand them. A subject of nations learns to see beyond borders. 2. Embrace languages and cultures. Prophecy often rides on the wings of language. When your name is spoken across tongues, prepare yourself to meet it. Learn phrases in other languages. Study cultures different from your own. Not out of obligation, but out of honor. For to walk among nations is to honor the nations. Respect their traditions. Understand their struggles. Celebrate their beauty. In this way, you become not a foreigner, but a bridge. 3. Walk in humility and authority together. Do not mistake global calling for personal pride. The power you carry is not yours, it is given. But at the same time, do not shrink back. Leaders will test you, cultures will question you, voices will doubt you. Walk with humility, knowing you are a servant, and authority, knowing you are chosen. These two together will make your presence undeniable. 4. Live with intentional holiness. When eyes from across the world are on you, compromise is not an option. Your life must be aligned with your message. What you do in private will echo in public. What you choose in secret will ripple across nations. Guard your integrity. Protect your purity. Walk with consistency, so that when the nations look, they see truth and light, not contradiction. 5. Cultivate daily discipline. Global assignment is heavy. Without structure, it will crush you. Develop habits of prayer, study, and focus. Learn to manage your time, to steward your energy, to protect your vision. Leaders of nations rise early, work diligently, and plan strategically. Should the chosen ones do less? Discipline is not bondage, it is freedom to carry great weight. 6. Practice prophetic boldness. There will be moments when you must speak, even when others remain silent. Do not hide your voice. If God has appointed you to be a light, then shine without hesitation. Boldness does not mean arrogance, it means obedience. When the Spirit nudges you to declare, to act, to step forward, do so quickly. Your boldness will open doors in nations where timidity would have closed them. 7. Keep the nations before you in prayer. Finally, never forget that your strength is not political, not financial, not strategic. It is spiritual. To walk among nations is to carry them in prayer. Lay their maps before the Lord. Speak their names in intercession. Ask for their peace, their healing, their redemption. For when you pray for the nations, you align your heart with the one who made them.